And that is why I am so passionate about bringing EFT tapping to the world, because it is, out of all of the tools that I've studied, it has been my fastest tool to healing my fight, flight, freeze, and fawn response. And since practicing it, I've helped and worked with thousands of human beings with this. And this is why it works. So EFT blends some really potent pieces together. Modern psychology, we're going to talk about, Chinese medicine, and neuroplasticity. So when we talk about modern psychology, we're looking at the practice of voicing our thoughts, memories, and emotions out loud. When we do that, we start opening up the subconscious. The subconscious is where we store 90% of our patterns. And so this method allows us to start getting into the subconscious. And the guidance points in the method not only allow us to look at our early traumas, but they allow us to look at our ancestral traumas, our family patterns, the things that we picked up from early childhood, from our culture, from the media, from religion. It helps us look at all of the stuff that wired the programs in. And then it asks us, what is supporting me and what isn't supporting me? What's giving me fear? What's giving me fight, flight, freeze, fawn? Okay, I'm going to clear that stuff out that got wired in. And the way we clear it out is through an aspect that we use from Chinese medicine by percussively tapping on specific meridian points on the body. So these meridian points are the same points that you would tap or put an acupuncture needle or press in Chinese medicine. These acupuncture points or acupressure points are connected to meridian lines, energy lines that run up and down the body. Modern science has now shown that these points, where the needles go, are actually also connected to nerve bundles in the body. So the beautiful thing about the ancient tradition of Chinese medicine, which is over 5,000 years old, is now being reinforced and acknowledged by modern medicine, that both of them can weave together. And so when you are tapping on these specific points, you are clearing out the energy lines. The energy lines are basically what bring in prana, life force, into the body. It happens through the breath, it happens through the chakra system. And that starts flushing through these energy lines. When we have a trauma, mental, emotional, physical, spiritual trauma, these lines start to get blocked, creating dis-ease or illness. Not to mention all of the psychological imbalances that start to happen because the mind will analyze when the body is off. And the mind loves to create stories, like what we just went with Stephanie, when we can actually just witness the emotion or the feeling, and without the story, that's when it starts to clear. But when the body is in discomfort because of something that's unresolved, there's simultaneously a referencing that happens in the mind that fuels the story of what happened in the body. And so this helps us clear out the stories that are stored in the body as well. Then we move into neuroplasticity. So we start to look at the memories that wired these limiting beliefs into our brain in the first place. So something happened as a child, maybe there was some kind of abuse, you started to move into a protection mechanism. That protection mechanism created belief patterns, also habits of protection as well, like we had discussed, and responses. When we do tapping, basically what we're doing is we're bringing love, compassion, and empathy into the fear-based systems that are wired in the brain. And what they've shown happen is basically you have these synapses inside the brain that are basically shooting on autopilot. Things get wired in, they go on autopilot. It's a easy way for the system to work, but a lot of the wiring doesn't support us. Some of the wiring is super supportive. You know, I know how to drive a car. I don't need to get taught over and over again. But some of the wiring is unsupportive. You know, our fear-based systems that make us go and take a smoke or drink alcohol or overindulge in food, these kinds of wirings, which are connected to the earlier memories and the traumas. And so what they have shown in tapping, when you start bringing love, compassion, and empathy to the wiring, the synapses that's gluing one pathway to the next, shooting it back and forth in place, there's these scaffolding or protein bonds that are gluing it together. The love and compassion and empathy actually melts the protein bonds, which is being glued by fear, and the synapses opens up and you're able to rewire the brain. So then because you're bringing love and compassion and empathy, you're rewiring through love, compassion, and empathy. There's also an impact that happens when you're tapping, when you're working with the amygdala, because the amygdala gets triggered by the memories as well, which when you're tapping, it helps calm the brain and the fear response, which really is the fight, flight, freeze, and fawn response. And then the impact on the nervous system, which I touched on, which is you're regulating the nervous system, you're reducing the stress, and you're coming back into a parasympathetic state. So all of that happens as you're clearing out the trauma. This isn't just a massage that gets you relaxed and then you get triggered the next day by the same thing. We're combining the touch, the clearing, with the clearing of the deeper roots. So what is possible if all of us on an individual level started doing this? More emotional intelligence, a deeper level of participation in life, recognizing that our challenges are here to create more resilience and growth, more sustainable success that's driven not only by results, but also personal well-being. Deeper and more profound boundaries that are healthy, that promote authenticity and mutual respect. Empowered initiative that increases efficiency from a place of peace and clarity, and not the bottom line and results all the time. Social connectivity, enrichment with our communities, mindfulness, mental, physical, and spiritual health, flexibility, and ability to relax and enjoy life more no matter what is coming through, and a receptive openness to really foster personal growth and stronger relationships. So if we are all able to do that within ourselves through clearing out our fight, flight, freeze, and fawn response, how does that overflow potentially into what is happening in the world? This is what I see as possible. And you could call me a dreamer, but my belief and my depth and commitment to this work is that when we change it individually, it starts to change systemically across the globe. So we create more peaceful resolutions. There's more diplomacy versus fighting and war. There's more sustainable practices, social equity. So there's fairer systems so that there's more equal opportunities, because we're not in fight or flight or fear, right? All of this greed and power and all of that is coming from that. So there's more unity, more cooperation, bridging divides, more harmony racially, healing those historical wounds, more stable in our prosperity so that everyone can feel secure. Collective wellness, a mindful consumption, meaning that we're not overly consuming because we're lacking anything. We're consuming based on what truly satisfies our needs. And environmental stewardship. So proactive efforts to restore and protect the planet. So these are big dreams. And for me, it all starts right here with each and every one of us, because we hold 10,000 generations in our DNA. We hold the history of the planet in our DNA. And when we can do it for ourselves, how we show up as leaders in our communities and what we're doing on the planet creates ripples. We become a positive influence for the world around us. So with that, I am going to go ahead and lead a little tap for us. Thank you for hearing my mission and my vision and what I feel is possible for all of us. And today, what we're going to do is we're going to support ourselves in coming into a deeper level of peace and empowerment in our life.